on High School Pitchside.
High School Pitchside, your ultimate guide to all things schoolboy football, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out, don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Welcome once again to Lead Story. For the past 3 weeks, our newsroom has shared perspectives from all walks of life, revealing the intimate details of how the passage of Hurricane Melissa has uprooted and displaced individuals, families, businesses, and entire communities. Tonight, we are joined by a guest that speaks on behalf of a people whose perspective of the storm is particularly poignant, not only because of Melissa's direct passage through their ancestral lands, but also because of the unique cultural significance of those who occupy them. I am Joel Crosskill, and this evening we are joined by Chief Richard Curry, leader of the Accompong Maroons of St. Elizabeth, and Alex Moore-Minot of the Moortown Maroons in Portland. Welcome to you both. Chief Curry.
Greetings. Greetings.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. At this time. I'd like to begin with you, Chief Curry. Can you describe to us the passage of Hurricane Melissa?
Well, Hurricane Melissa was nothing short of sheer devastation, and for lack of a better way to describe it, almost a reset. Right, everything that you would have known of past is no longer the same. Everything has changed. That's shifted the entire landscape of the community, and not only Accompong, but the adjoining districts, the entire belt from south in St. Elizabeth all the way through north has been devastated. And what we have here in Accompong is approximately 80% of damage that has been done to the homes and other infrastructure across the community. The two main shelters that were housing persons seeking refuge from the storm, that is the community center, which also has the museum, and the primary school, both were totally destroyed. And we would have lost some of our information, but our curators and persons on the ground and the members of the culture group would have played their part in securing certain elements, but we have been significantly affected.
All right. Alex Moore-Minot, can you also describe the passage of Hurricane Melissa from your position in Portland?
First of all, as is customary, let me give a greeting of peace and love. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. Let me also say a special greeting to Chief Richard Curry. Salam alaikum, Chief. I hope that you're holding on strong. The fact of the matter is that the Blue and Jankra Mountains that we are in right now has been completely defoliated. Every tree is stripped completely. Traditional medicinal plants gone. Pathways to beautiful sites that we used to take visitors to gone. We have a complete decimation of all our agricultural food grounds here, and we must say that there seems to be some loss of fish species. We hope that we will be able to see some recovery, but we're talking about endemic species. Some of us are like river rangers, river wardens, and that sort of thing. And so we have to be keeping close watch on what happens next, because we've never seen anything like this. And making it clear, the East was not as heavily affected as the West, as our family members over there. But we will say that the loss of livelihood and the impending food shortage and food disaster is very worrisome. We've already had to start reverting to some of our old ways. Not that we have a problem with that, but this is where it's heading. We have to go back inward and seek our traditional knowledge at this time.
Actually, it's very interesting that you should say that. I'd like to ask Chief, could you tell us, between the elders and the young, how is morale amongst the Maroons of Akampong right now, Chief Curry?
Well, the Maroons are very strong and resilient people, right? But it's never a surprising thing to express your total dismay at a situation when it's quite unique in the shape that Melissa has spun herself. So I think many of the elders are still shaken up. Many of them are traumatized, I would say, from what they would have gone through, because, as I said, majority of homes were left without roof. And when the roof went, some had to endure the sheer violence of the storm throughout without a roof over their head. Those who couldn't make it to a shelter did so at their own risk. And, you know, it was very, very fortunate for us that we had no loss of life immediate as a result of Melissa. But it was very devastating. And for the youngsters, I think they're still in a space of understanding, because they themselves have been searching, and now the search, you know, has intensified for a way forward, a way to break from the cycle of poverty and, you know, the indignity in which they live. That has now gotten worse. You know, with every day that the rain falls, it dampens the spirits of the people, the homes that cannot be covered, and the hearts that, you know, have really endured so much for so long, as here have to endure more. But we never give up, right? We were built to outlast, and I think that's what we now have to remind ourselves of. You mentioned agriculture. It's the key focus right now. How do we get back into the soil? How do we provide for ourselves and for a nation? How do we sustain ourselves? How do we rebuild? So, you know, January 6th this year is our January 6th, our annual celebrations. This whole experience has shifted the whole thought of what the January 6th festival will look like, and that I will discuss more and share more on as time draws near. But we are all going through a tough time, and I think with all the persons who have been contributing, who have been working towards sponsoring and supporting our initiatives, have been no short of spectacular, for the sake that we have very little to go with, but when they do come on board, it makes it worth the while. And that's what keeps us going at this point.
Interrupt you right there. We're upon a break, a quick break. We'll return and continue our conversation on the Maroons and Hurricane Melissa. This is Lead Story.
Visit VC's Electrical Sales today at 21 Mannings Hill Road, Kingston 8. Come see why VC's Electrical Sales is your go-to for quality electrical supplies at great prices. Check our website to see a sample of our products, or call us for the full inventory at 876-622-9800. VC's Electrical Sales, also known as VC's Electrical Depot.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yeah.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Thank you for staying with us here on Least Story as we look at the reaction and recovery efforts of the Maroons of Jamaica. We're still joined by Chief Richard Curry. He's leader of the Accompong Maroons of St. Elizabeth, and Alex Moore-Minot of the Moortown Maroons in Portland. Prior to the break, Chief, you are speaking about the challenges now facing your agricultural sector. Are you food secure currently? Are the Maroons of Accompong able to feed themselves like they usually do?
We've always been able to feed ourselves, right? But what it has done is really shorten that cycle, right? That cycle into the next crop and what we do in between. So we are under some strain, as with the entire island. You know, St. Elizabeth is the breadbasket of Jamaica. So not only St. Elizabeth will feel the repercussions, the entire Jamaica will feel it. So if we do not inject with certain alacrity, right, the measures and activities and initiatives needed to mobilize the entire farming community, you know, not focusing on importing and substituting, but rebuilding, right? We have to be thinking of rebuilding and rebuilding stronger, right? A simple element such as connectivity. The power lines are down, phone lines are down, the internet service is totally non-existent in some areas. The Starlink systems have become useful to an extent, right, where it's able to reconnect families, right? Something like that also is in getting the wheels turning again, because you can't tell a man about agriculture when he don't have a roof over his head, right? When rain is still wetting his hands and his life, you know, declarations, you know, this is what it is. So we have to take it in stages, but we also have to move in alignment, right? In ensuring that we're not overlooking one other aspect that could be detrimental to our survival, which is food. So the food and the housing go hand in hand, and I think that's where our significant challenges are, which, you know, are directly in front of us. For now, it's gathering hands and hearts and minds, trying to keep everybody steady, focused, so they can get past the emotions of what they're going through now and refocus their energies now on rebuilding. And that's the stage that we're now moving into. Cleaning up the community, trying to put pieces together, get materials in, rebuilding from the most vulnerable up, and see how best we can create an environment that is, you know, safe and habitable.
Thank you, Chief Curry.
And dignified.
Alex Moore-Minot, from your vantage point in Moortown, Portland, what does the rebuild look like specifically and generally as it relates to agriculture and other enterprise in that community?
I think that it is vitally important now that we have some level of support for the rebuilding of agriculture, because as I said before, it is completely decimated. I think that some support is definitely needed there. And I think we need to really refocus the methods of agriculture and the sustainability of the agricultural sector. I think that this storm has shown us that some of the things that we cling to in modern times and we lean on really won't work. Some of the food varieties, some of the plant varieties that are unable to withstand such random shocks, as well as even the animal varieties. So for example, many people had started to raise broiler chickens, for example. Some of the broilers, they were physically unaffected, meaning their enclosures were not damaged, but just the screeching wind and the sound of the breaking of the trees, etc., gave them heart attacks, quite literally. Whereas the yard fowl, the common fowl, is still strong, is still sturdy. So just personally, I can say that I am refocusing and re-examining. However, community-wide, there needs to be some strength, some infusion, some help in terms of refocusing agriculture and what that looks like. I think this also shows that central government, meaning the central government of the entire archipelago of Jamaica, needs to be re-examined, and we need to consider the strengthening of local government. Within the Maroon tradition, we have a tradition of self-governance. We have a tradition of community governance. And I think that it is a model that could really help the entire Jamaica in terms of how communities govern, how communities internalize, and how we rely on each other as interconnected beings. So all in all, I think that now is a time of collectivism, right? And now is a time of us figuring out what are the next moves, how do we combine forces, and we will say that no one is without the need of help. No man is an island, no man stands alone. And now is the time to join hands and hearts to fix this issue, because we don't know, based on the changing of climate, things that we are seeing as traditionalists in the forest, etc. Things are changing. The waters are getting hotter. Even the rivers.
I'm going to have to interrupt you there. We're up on a short break. I will definitely pick up the point on the other side. This is Lead Story.
We want a piece for Jamaica. Yeah. Yo, what are you?
Oh man, no, no, brother, no, man,
You don't see you ever play ref? No, the game,
no play. But a bad game. No, I said, place when you come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, brethren. No shake hand, I can play a little bad, brethren.
Really have to shake hand?
Yeah, man, and no badness, brethren, just live good, man.
Come together as one and make the violence done.
It's time.
Welcome to High School Pitchside. We have another fascinating episode for you.
More matches, more big clashes.
Let's talk about some of the big rivalries coming up this week.
More of your favorite features.
And trust me, you won't fall asleep in this history class.
And of course, we always want to hear from you.
Hear from your alma mater's players and coaches in Team Talk.
You know we can't leave you out. So send us your messages on social media and watch us react on FanView.
And you know we love a good little debate, right, Gio?
We've got you covered all season long on High School Pitchside.
High School Pitchside, your ultimate guide to all things schoolboy football, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
The Maroons and Hurricane Melissa, that's the topic this evening on Lead Story. Prior to the break, we were discussing resilience and capacity to endure storms such as these. Alex Moore-Minot, you had raised the issue. And I had a follow-up question to that. What kind of capacity do the Maroons have for storing food for situations such as these? If you could just respond briefly, and then I'll allow the Chief also to respond to that question, please.
At this point in time, let me say that within our community, there hasn't been any consideration of that, and that doesn't currently exist. And I think that based on the fact that we're a tropical island, we become complacent. We're a tropical place, so we think we'll have food all year round. But as I said prior to the break, things are changing in every way possible. And so, you know, we definitely have to rethink the way we do things, right? So we do need to look at food storage capacity, food production, food storage, very, very important.
Chief Curry, are you in agreement? Chief Curry, are you in agreement that storage of food is a necessary component of forward thinking for the Maroons?
100%. And we want to do so in an economically sustainable way, right? And I think that's something that we've touched on in several other discussions on what the plan is for the mitigation of crises like this. What is the food sustainability plan, not just only for the Maroons, but for Jamaica? If all the focus is on the low-lying areas, what happens when they get flooded out? what happens when you have a significant devastating situation like this? It will be much easier to get back going on the hills than it is on the flats, but we don't see the level of investment in the hills that we see on the flats. So there also needs to be balance in ideologies and how we think this thing through, because if food sustainability only relied upon one parish, right, that doesn't say a lot for the entire nation, right? So I think as a nation, we need to do better in sustaining ourselves from a food standpoint and preserving our food sources and crops. As for us in a compound, we have had some time to put some resources aside. We do have partners that we work with to also create sustainability meshes or grids or nets for our community. And it is why we have had a significant response in the crises that we're now going through, that we're able to share with other communities, what we have been able to acquire in donations, contributions, as well as from our own stores and supplies.
I know communications have been a challenge even up until this point, because I understand that power wasn't returned to you, Mr. Moore Minot, until earlier today. And of course, Mr. Curry, Chief Curry, is using technology to have this discussion right now. Have you been able to communicate with other Maroon communities about how they fared during the passage of the hurricane?
That's my question?
Yes, initially.
I have done my utmost best to stay in touch, especially with Chief Curry and his administration, because of course I am their former Minister of Foreign Affairs. Oftentimes that has found me climbing trees in the community to be able to get enough signal. And it shows us that, as I mentioned before, we need a greater amount of independence. And I think that there is a lot of emphasis on the culture of the Maroons, even by the leadership. There's a lot of emphasis on drumming, dancing, etc. But this disaster has surely shown us that community governance, everyday life, needs to be greatly considered by our Maroon councils, which are our traditional governance bodies. And we really need to sit down as communities and evaluate what happens next, because if we have this issue again next year, right, or the year after that, will we be so fortunate in the East, because we could get our turn at any point in time. So yeah, we've done our best to stay in touch. We very badly wanted to make journeys over there to help them. So if anybody is watching and would like to help out with such a mission, you can get in touch with me. But this is where we're at. Our hearts burn daily, bleed daily, because we can stay where we are based on our spiritual connections with them and feel the pain that they're going through. And it's hard to see Chief Curry at this time, and just his eyes tell the story. And we really want to stand with our brothers and sisters, but it is difficult because of the loss of livelihoods, etc. So many things to consider, many things, Joel, many things.
How would individuals interested in assisting with the recovery efforts of the Maroons in various communities reach out to the Maroons themselves to offer that assistance?
Well, in my case, we have been without communication up to this moment. You contacted me at a great time. But of course, Joel, you and I are in close communication. So you can, anyone that reaches out to you because of this program, please do put them in touch. Outside of that, if I may share my cellular telephone number, which is 876-495-7370. That's 876-495-7370. So you can contact me on WhatsApp or a straight call, and we can have a discussion, because there are people in the community who I can tell you right now, they weren't doing well from before, and it is rather worse now. And so we'd like to be able to help them. And we'd like to have discussions, as we said before, food resilience, food storage. And we'd also like to make a mission, even one weekend, to spend with our brothers and sisters in a compound so that we can help with what's happening there.
Chief Curry, I'd very much like to ask you this question. Have any government agencies reached out to the community of Accompong to offer assistance in recovery?
Okay, so to answer your question, Minister Darrell Vaz stopped by a few days ago, and his wife was also in accompaniment. It was in accompaniment, and what happened, we discussed briefly the impact of the hurricane and some of the challenges that we faced. Outside of that, I received a message from Minister Floyd Green, who pretty much was checking in on the situation as well. And I believe a contact from the Ministry of Education reached out in regards to the primary school in Accompong and how to get classes restarted. So yes, we have received a few points of communication. Those are still discussions and points of contact that have just been made. Otherwise, I think we have been holding fort and steadying ourselves as best as possible and working as best as we can with hands and hearts all around to ensure that we see this through.
All right, I only have about 30 seconds remaining, and I would love to know, does Maroon history or lore contain any stories of hurricanes such as these that have passed in history, and what can you share with us about it?
Is that for me?
Chief Curry or yourself, either one.